Sharron Miller needs to add to her Olympic trophy case an individual Olympic gold medal.
I feel like I know this routine.
Right here, tumbling pass on the beam. She lands.
And this new folks at home is called the Nora.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. She is saying, stick the dismount, stick the dismount.
Okay, so I have to admit, when I see that video, and I've seen it a few times at this point, I even know how it ends, but I still get so nervous. I mean, the cold sweat that maybe today's the day I don't land the dismount. Okay, so I'm gonna keep that medal. But no, seriously, thank you so much for inviting me to be here as part of this incredible event and celebration of all of your hard work. And I already heard, so we have some Olympic fans out here. Maybe even a few gymnastics fans. And maybe a few of you, I know it was a really long time ago, maybe a few of you remember way back to the 1996 Olympic Games. Yeah, over 20 years ago. I'm starting to feel a little dated at this point, but I love the Olympics, and I'm so fortunate I get to remain involved with the sport of gymnastics, the Olympic movement, mostly as an analyst and commentator, which basically means I go to the Olympics every 4 years, and I call it work. But every 4 years, I watch as these athletes, they march out onto the competition floor, and I know what they're feeling and thinking, and I am immediately taken back to some of those incredible moments from my own career. And I think especially from the 96 Games, I mean, there's nothing like competing on home soil at an Olympic Games. It is so incredible, and I can remember walking into the Georgia Dome, 40,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs. I'd never heard anything that loud. You walk through this curtain and it is just this sea of red, white, and blue. Flashbulbs going off like 4th of July and the crowd chanting USA, and you just feel that love and that support, and you also knew you better not leave without that gold medal.
I don't have it with me.
But there we were, by the end of the night, the first ever women's gymnastics team to win Olympic gold for the United States of America.
Woo!
It was a dream come true for all of us, and you know, I know that there are so many things about that time that I've forgotten over the years. How many beam routines did I actually practice leading up to that event? I think the aches and the injuries, those tend to fade with time. I can't possibly tell you how many times I fell along the way. But when I look back, I think of some of these very special moments, moments that I'll never forget. And I think we all do this in our lives, in our work. We think back and we think about the highlights, the good times, the gold medal moments, the Instagram-worthy moments of our lives. But I always feel like it's really important to remind myself of the struggles along the way. The falls, the injuries, the moments where I just wanted to give up. Because it's in those moments, it's in the mistakes and the challenges, the falls and the failures, that we learn how important it is to get back up. We get back up, we take that next forward step, we rely on our team. And I know that some of the lessons I learned through sport are the most important lessons I've ever learned, and they help me every day. Yes, they help me excel in gymnastics, but they help me every day.
An obnoxious sneezer
Running
too.
my company, motherhood, and in my battle with cancer.
Yeah, you really get the
And
attention.
it's these lessons that I turn to often, things like goal setting, teamwork, a positive attitude, and my commitment to excellence each and every day. Those are the things that I turn to most often. Now, I'll say goal setting is probably one of my favorite things to talk about. My friends all make fun of me. I set goals for everything. Everything. Brush my teeth in the morning, do a load of laundry, check the box, did it. And sometimes, when you have small children, that's a really big deal. But I do. But goal setting is so crucial because it paves the way for change and growth and improvement, and it helps us close the distance between where we are today and where we want to be tomorrow. My coach, Steve Nuno, he was the one yelling and jumping up and down on the sidelines. He did that a lot. But he was so good at teaching me about goal setting at a very early age. He used to sit us all down on the competition floor right as the season began, and he would pass out these index cards. And on one side, we had to write down our long-term goals. I want to compete at the state competition. And eventually I would write, I want to represent the United States at the Olympic Games. Well, that's all well and good. It's nice to have a dream, a goal, fantastic, but how are you going to get there? So we had to turn that card over. We had to painstakingly write down all of those short-term goals, all those things that we could try to accomplish each day that would lead up to that long-term goal. So if I wanted to make it to states, well, I needed a new dismount off of the balance beam, which meant I needed to get stronger, which meant more sit-ups and push-ups and legs. Those were the things I could come in the gym and I could work on every single day. Now, I know everyone in this room understands the importance of goals. We know how to set goals. We know the importance of SMART goals. But I think the one thing that's often left out of the goal setting conversation is the importance of follow through, right? Because it's not enough to know what we need to do. We also have to do what we need to do if we want to achieve that ultimate success. I tell young athletes these days, the moment. You think of the moment. And they think of the moment as maybe walking out into the arena, sparkly leotard, all the cameras on you, the lights on, the audience is cheering for you, thousands of people cheering for you. But that's not the moment. The moment is way back in that hot, sweaty, smelly, chalky gym doing push-up after push-up after push-up when nobody is watching. That's the moment. That's when the magic happens. The magic happens in the work that you do every single day, even when it's not exciting or glamorous. But it's the work that has to be done. I know that the work I did each and every day was what ultimately led me to that first success, the first Olympic team that I qualified for, and that was in 1992. I was 15, seems really young. But 4 years later, I had a wonderful opportunity to come back as part of Team USA during the Atlanta Olympic Games, and what an incredible summer. Standing up there with my teammates, the Magnificent Seven, as we would come to be known, seeing the American flag being raised and hearing the sound of our national anthem. It was incredible. And you kind of just want to hang out up there. You've worked really hard to get there. It's a lot like this. You're standing up there and you think to yourself, okay, bring me a sleeping bag. Gonna camp out here for a little while. They do make you leave. So, as we're politely escorted off the stage, it is a lot like this, and you've kind of got some stairs down at the end, and as I reached the bottom of the stairs, my coach, he gave me this big bear hug, and he took me by the shoulders, and he looked me in the eyes, and he said, "Okay, get focused. You have 3 more events to go." Yes, sir. But he was right. I was just getting started. The Olympics for gymnastics, depending on what you've qualified for, is a 2-week competition. And I had qualified for the all-around competition, so that's where you go and you compete in all 4 of the apparatus. The vault finals and then the balance beam finals. So, a couple days later, I went into the all-around final and I was doing pretty well. I was in first place, headed into the 3rd of 4 events. When it happened, and even if you know nothing about gymnastics, you know in sports, stepping out of the little white line, stepping out of bounds, not such a good idea. And that night, I stepped out of bounds on a tumbling pass. I don't know, my heel went over that little white line, could have been an inch, it might as well have been a mile, it didn't really matter at that point. That one step lost me any chance of a medal that night. And I was just devastated. All that time, all that effort, years of work, and I was heartbroken. Not that I ever think about it. over in my dreams. But I was heartbroken, and tears were shed for all of the world to see, and then at one point I stopped, and I thought, okay, I've got to rely on some of these lessons I've learned. And one of those is, okay, you can cry about it later, but right now you need to move on. You need to take the next forward step. And so I thought about vault and the next competition, and a couple days later I went into the vault competition. I saluted the judge. I ran down that 70-foot runway as fast as I could go. I hurtled onto the springboard and I flew right over the top of that horse. I landed flat on my rear end in front of, well, I guess at that time it was the entire world. And yes, all of you can relive that wonderful moment through the magic of YouTube. Thank you very much. So there it was, splat. And the first thing I thought was, what just happened? What happened? And then the fear began to set in. And I remember speaking to my mother that night. I think venting to my mother that night would be more appropriate use of words.